On our second full day in Munich, we went to Dachau to visit the concentration camp and memorial site. This is not a happy video or a happy place to be, but it is an important place to see if you're in the Munich area. It's important to know your history and to know what you can do to help prevent it from happening again. First, we saw the building on the left-hand side, which was built in 1916, serving as the original prison at Dachau. It was originally a munitions plant in World War I. In the next clip, you can see a guard tower that is original, and in the last clip, you can see a rail station where SS guards and other supplies were dropped off for the camp. The actual prisoners had to walk from the original train station a couple of miles away in Dachau. Next, you go through the gate, and the famous Arbeit, machtfrei is on the gate, which means work brings freedom. Obviously, this was a lie. Prisoners each day on the way to and from work had to walk through this gate and see that message on the gate. Once you get through the gate, you stand in a very, very large open area. You can see how large this area is. Each and every day, at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, prisoners had to stand here in formation and were counted, basically doing a roll call to make sure that nobody escaped during the workday. No matter what the temperature was, they had to do this procedure. When prisoners arrived at Dachau, they were processed, if you will, inside of this building. They were stripped naked. All of their possessions were taken away, and they were humiliated as much as possible. This was all part of the Nazis' efforts to dehumanize people. As you can see now, the building is a museum. It has a lot of great information. I encourage any visitor to walk through it. Unfortunately, with our tour, we went through it much faster than I would have liked. It really has a lot of great information in it. One thing we learned during the tour is that Dachau is the very first concentration camp. It was not built as an extermination camp like that was common in Poland and Eastern Europe. It's purely for intimidation of German citizens at first. It was really used by the Nazis to assert their authority and make people scared of them. We also learned that the Nazis occasionally let people out of Dachau. For example, Hitler's birthday or any other type of celebration. They would do so to create the perception that if people behaved or got in line, that they were set free. They also wanted other citizens of Germany to see all of this as part of their overall intimidation tactic. Upon leaving the museum, we checked out a few memorials on the concentration camp site that are built to serve as both a reminder and to honor the victims of the concentration camp. The next part of the tour was a replica of the barracks that the prisoners stayed in. This is not an original building. After World War II, most of Dachau was used as a refugee camp for Munich citizens since the city was destroyed. There are really no other buildings on the memorial site except for this one, which just you can walk through and you can see what prisoners would have lived, how prisoners would have lived during the war. And of course, as the war went on, the conditions became worse and worse, and they began to crowd more and more people into each building. This shouldn't be surprising to anyone who's read any history about World War II or the Nazi regime in general. After leaving the barracks, you walk down a corridor of trees which are original to the camp, and you can see all of the places where all of the previous buildings were and all the prisoners were kept. Each one is sort of a memorial or a grave site to the people that lived and died there. People will come by and put flowers within the different building sites if they know that a relative or a friend lived and died there. This clip shows some of the security measures taken around the perimeter of the camp. If a prisoner stepped in the green area, a guard would shoot them immediately. If they survived that, there was barbed wire on the rocks and a very tall barbed wire fence with an electric shocking mechanism that would basically kill somebody on the spot. This explains why nobody really ever escaped the camp. The only time people ever escaped was during the work day, and they snuck away from the work site. Then our tour moved to the most disturbing part of the camp, the crematorium, which has a place for burning bodies in addition to a gas chamber that the SS used to practice for the Eastern Front. This testing gas chamber it's truly disgusting. I don't know what else to say other than that. The tour guide mentioned that this particular camp was not used for mass extermination, but as I mentioned earlier, just for training SS troops. They did not really seem to know whether how many people were killed in this gas chamber or not, but it's still disgusting just to walk through it and watch this video. After the gas chamber, we saw one last monument that basically says never again. Hopefully that holds true, although this type of nonsense happens in lots of different parts of the world every day. Long story short, I highly recommend going to visit the Dachau Memorial Camp. It is worth the price of admission. You will learn a lot, and it's not happy, but you need to go see it. You need to learn about these things and understand them. Thank you.